Three, two, one. Welcome in again, everybody, to Coach's Corner with Ellis Johnson on the Auburn Undercover podcast. I'm your host, Ronnie Sanders, and Ellis, it's good to be with you again today.
Good to be back. They're coming around too fast.
Another year gone by.
It's amazing. I mean, we always said as coaches that the days dragged and the weeks just flew by, you know. But yep, we're into the playoffs now. I tell you what, the biggest thing that I've noticed around some of the teams I follow, including my sons, is the opt-outs now. It's infecting a lot of programs. Some that used to have sort of a culture and a loyalty to finish the season and everything. This I guess the size of the playoffs and or the portal and the NIL and all the things combined, I think the bowl's in trouble. Now, I don't know how they're going to save them.
Well, I think the other thing is, these kids don't want to get hurt, and they're looking to hit the portal and get as much money as they can, and looking to go to the NFL. And they're like, well, why should I play in a meaningless bowl game? And used to, you play for your teammates, you play for your school. And now, hell, if you go to 4 schools, you don't have any loyalty to the school anymore.
That's gone. It all started with playoffs, and I mean back to the 2-team playoff, and then it got to 4, and now it's up to 12. And what's happening, I think, as the playoff grows or becomes more hyped and everybody's watching it, and it's just like when they put out the bowl projections, and they, when you first see who's probably going to make the playoffs, and there's still about 16 teams that have a shot, and then you see who they're projecting to go to the bowls. Hell, nobody even looks at it anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about good bowls too, But gosh, hadn't they got Michigan and Texas playing in one of them in Florida this year?
Let's see. I don't even know, to be honest with you. Let's see. Bowl games. I'll pull up the bowl games.
I think they're in the Cheez-It Bowl, which is down there either in Orlando or Tampa. Unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, you got Michigan. I wanted to get your take on the Michigan and Texas in the Citrus Bowl, which is the Cheez-It Bowl, Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
Now that's a heck of a good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the players are not going to be there. And now they've got this absolute mess going on up in Michigan, which is going to dilute the coaching staff. And it just, I don't know. What was one of the best bowls? Citrus was a pretty tough bowl to get in back in the day. And it was one of the best matchups because the SEC and the Big Ten had it. Mm-hmm. And so you could almost guarantee a strong game in that one in the Outback every year. And now they're just bowl games that some people may not even go to.
It's pretty sad. I mean, I always, fans like to see the games, but I mean, you look at attendance. I mean, even look at attendance at the championship, the conference championship games. I mean, hell, the stadium was half empty with the ACC game. I mean, it was cold, and there wasn't anybody there.
Well, they've got a problem with location, and I know it's geographically a good, sensible location. But they need to find a dome, or they need to move that thing to better weather. It's happened very frequently. I mean, Charlotte and Nashville are 2 very unpredictable places in this time of year. I mean, one of the coldest I've ever been in was the initial Music City Bowl. We when I was in Alabama, we played Virginia Tech, and it was miserable.
You mentioned Virginia Tech. The coldest, there's 2 games. We played Georgia one year in Athens when I was at Auburn. And I'm standing on the sideline with Lionel James, and we're both freezing to death. And other than that, the coldest game I've been in was when I was at Southern Miss. We played in Blacksburg. And the head coach said he didn't want any heaters on. And finally, it got so damn cold that the equipment managers cut the heaters on his lower. He won't notice. And so all the players are back there, including me. We're all huddled around the heaters back there. That's the coldest I've ever been, I think.
I tell you what, but it's back to the bowls. It was just, I don't know. Now, the money comes from ESPN and then, of course, those corporate sponsors. So as long as they want to put their money in, and if it's worth their advertising dollars and so forth to be a sponsor, then I guess they'll keep having them. And for the kids that go, it's a fun experience. you hear a lot of folks who said, "Oh, the bowls were meaningless and they don't make any sense anymore. I like the playoffs." Most of those people have never been to a bowl game, and if you ever have been to one, you understand how special it is. I mean, it's a better trip, more activities, all sorts of things. And my son was here at Clemson last year. Of course, they didn't make it out of the first round, but they were going to the playoffs, and I was wondering, I wonder if they didn't get bowl gifts and stuff. And of course, they did. They ended up getting them gifts, and they actually had allowances, cash allowances for families to travel to see the game, which is smart because some of these locations they're having to send these teams to, you may have two Southeastern teams going out to friggin' Arizona to play. Mm-hmm. And they need to be able to, parents want to travel to see their kid, they'd almost need financial help. So some of it ain't all bad, but I just hate to see some of it, just disappear.
Well, I do too, and I understand the we're talking about the ACC. I understand the central location with Charlotte, but with these kids getting NIL nowadays, and I mean, I just when you've got a conference that goes from Boston to Miami, it's not going to be close to anybody. I mean, play the damn thing in Miami, and let it be. At least it's warm, and the kids have a nice trip, and that seems to make more sense to me than
no doubt. No doubt. I'm trying to think of a dome that's somewhere centralized. I don't remember. I don't think there is one.
Atlanta,
nowhere in North Carolina or Virginia. No. And then I don't think any of those pro stadiums on the Eastern Seaboard. I don't think any of those are domes, are they?
Not that I can think of. Yeah. I mean, Syracuse plays in a dome, but it doesn't even have any. I don't think it has heat or air conditioning in it.
No. That thing was, hell, I don't think it seats but about 50, maybe less.
I think so. What are your thoughts on Auburn's hire? We talked about it a little bit last time, but I mean, I never thought I'd see an Auburn coach, talk about personality wise, we'll see, but a long way from Pat Dye, being born in Russia, raised in Brooklyn, graduated from Ohio State, and he's coaching now at Auburn. I'm not sure that I ever thought I'd see that.
I know. That's a great point. But just as we got through talking a minute ago about these kids don't have loyalties to certain schools, and they didn't grow up chasing the same team from 16 years, and I want to play for the Eagles, or I want to play for the Gators, or I want to play for whoever. They're just not like that much anymore. And so, they're trying to play for who got the best program and got the most money. And I think that culture match in these hires is not totally unimportant, but I don't think it's all that critical anymore. And the guy's coached at Ohio State, and he's coached at South Florida. And I don't know all the other places he's coached, but I mean, he hadn't been stuck somewhere over in the Northwest or in Los Angeles for 12 years. So he's been in some recruiting battles. You can bet that. And he's recruited the state of Florida, which is a good start. So I don't know. I think it's going to be as good a hire as they could have made. I think trying to compare all these hires to each other and who did the best job and who got who they wanted and all that. It's good. It's just like assigning a recruiting class. Hype it up and sign and, present yours and try to win that battle. Because it doesn't matter. It ain't going to make a damn bit of difference in 3 years. You get the job done or you don't. But there's no point in sitting there being blasé about it or negative. So I think there are a lot of good reasons to be happy he's coming, and positive and optimistic, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to have put together a pretty good staff. I mean, he brought Cody Burns back, who was with him. So Auburn people are certainly happy to see that. Marcus Davis was not retained, ended up going to Florida. It's going to be I guess for me, he spent 2 years in the SEC, but like I said, he spent some time with Matt Campbell. And I don't know if you know Joe Wickline, but if
I don't know him well, but I know him a little bit.
Well, he's about like Trickett, but
right.
but if he says, a little bit like you, I mean, if he says a guy can coach, I tend to trust him. And he tells me that Golish is buttoned up, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, and he's on top of things. So,
Right.
He's been around some good people, and so just like anybody else, he deserves his shot.
Was Cody there on staff already?
He was at South Florida with Golish.
Okay, got you. Well, he was with us at Auburn, and I thought he did a great job. Good guy.
Yeah, he seems to be very happy to be back.
That's good.
Let's talk about these playoff matchups a little bit.
I'll tell you, I'll give you the media version. I can't tell you all the bets I've already placed.
Well,
I think two of them tend to look like really good games. Oklahoma, Alabama, Texas A&M, Miami, they could go either way. And then the other ones, nobody expects them to be close by the fourth quarter. I may have said this the last time we were on here. Ole Miss this year, their wins, I went back and saw their wins, and 6 of the bottom 7 teams in the SEC were on their schedule. Now, they didn't know that starting the season because there's some pretty good teams in there, but they got to play 6 of the bottom 7. Texas A&M, I think, somebody said they play 7 of the bottom 9. I didn't realize that, but anyhow, they've got 2 wins. Ole Miss has got 2 wins this year over top 25 teams, Oklahoma and Tulane. And they got 1 win over teams in the SEC who had winning records in the SEC. Beat Oklahoma. They didn't beat anybody else who had a winning record in the SEC. And they didn't beat anybody else in the top 25. Now, Tulane was one of those wins, and it was pretty lopsided. But, they're beatable. And especially maybe with the confusion and the chaos, they may not be as perfectly prepared as as you'd like to be. If something was going to be some obstacles, getting everybody ready to go. But because of the fact they're in the playoffs, they're not going to have problems with opt-outs. At least I wouldn't think so. And so they'll have a full strength Army, but they might not be as good as everybody thinks they were this year.
A little bit like Texas last year. I mean, they hit it right on the schedule.
Yeah. You compare that schedule to Alabama. I mean, Alabama had a bad schedule this year, but looking at it preseason, it didn't look all that bad.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, when you look back on it, it was a grinder, and it got them too. They were one of the best balanced teams in the early part of the year. Then by the time they got to the last 4 or 5 games, they ain't got no running game. Mm-hmm. Running back's beat up. He's out. He's hurt. He didn't even play the last game. Then they just could not run the football the last 3 or 4 weeks, and about to change against Oklahoma if they're going to have a shot.
They haven't run it well all year long.
Huh?
They haven't run it well all year long.
No, but at least they had something you had to respect early on. I mean, they had a little balance. Their first game, even when they lost to Florida State, they had several drives and they had great balance. You don't have to necessarily run for 150 yards to have an effective running game in a game. But if you can't run the football on 3rd and 2, might as well not even try to run it at 3rd and 1. You got problems. And once the defensive linemen know it, and once those defensive coordinators know it, it makes it hard. And Ty Simpson, I came here, I copied it down the other day, but I don't know what it did with it. I think his first so many games, he had 11 touchdowns and 1 interception. And then the last 4 or 5 games, he had like 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And you can say, well, he's kind of losing his effectiveness or his heart a little bit. I'm going to tell you what the problem is. He lost his running game. And once people realized it, the heat's been coming on him. So he hadn't had good help. And he's got some good weapons to throw it to, but he doesn't have much help getting the ball out of his hands. And so it's going to be a big factor for him, I'm afraid. And on the other hand, Oklahoma ain't got no offense unless Mateer has to get back on where he was in the early part of the year. he was a pretty dangerous element with his feet and his arm. Then he had that thumb injury or whatever he hurt on his hand. And for 2 or 3 weeks, he was inaccurate. Of course, one game, I think he didn't get to play, but then when he came back, he wasn't very accurate. And if he's not accurate, they're not a very good offense. And he's got some guys to get it to, but he just has not been really good at throwing accuracy. They don't have a lot of downfield passing game anymore. So we'll see. We'll see if they can win again on defense.
And a lot of people want to beat up the offensive line coach. I know the offensive line coach. I've worked with him. I know he can coach. So it's not always a coach.
No, and the protection of the quarterback ain't always the offensive line.
That's right.
You know, running backs make more mistakes, probably assignments, and then get in mismatches that they can't help in trying to protect the passer. And a lot of times it's them. Sometimes the quarterback doesn't get rid of the ball when he's supposed to. There's a lot of factors in it other than the offensive line can't pass block. That's just one of the biggest elements. That's not everything.
What do you think about the Heisman?
Well, I would have voted, if I had a vote, I'd have voted for Pavia. But the way he has handled this thing, it really irks the crap out of me.
Same here.
I mean, look, the kids shouldn't even been playing this year. It's, it's another example of the NCAA just throwing shit out the window, just like all we talk about the bowl games and everything else. It's all about money, and it's all about kissing the players' rear ends right now. And I mean, to give him eligibility because some of his time he played was in a junior college. Well, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of players that have come through the NCAA, and that's been the case. And it's clearly in the damn rules before you ever started playing college football. So, I'm not been out of shape that they gave him another year. He ought to feel lucky.
Yeah.
It's almost like somebody comes in this country illegally, and then they want to start complaining about it and living off everything off the taxpayers and so forth. Dude, you're the one that came in here. Don't turn around and spit in my face. What the hell have you done? So that may not a good analysis, but I mean, to turn around and criticize people because they didn't win an award. You're very fortunate to have played at Vanderbilt with great coaches in a great conference and a great league. And if you go back and look at it, you earned every dadgum inch of it, but you're fortunate you got the chance.
That's right.
And then you want to sit out there and throw rocks at voters or whoever.
I was really disappointed, and I agree with you. If I had a vote, I would have voted for him. But I was really, really disappointed in the way that he handled it. And then I don't know if you saw yesterday, TJ Finley is back in the portal. I think he's looking for his 7th year. So 6 or 7 schools now. He's applying for another year of eligibility. He'll probably get it.
Where's he? I don't even know which schools he's been at.
He started out at LSU and he went to Auburn and then he went to Texas State, I think, and he's been at Georgia State. He went 1 or 2 other places. I'm not sure where else he's been, but it's a wild time in college football, and I guess part of it was COVID and everything else.
That's been gone. I mean, that's just an excuse now. The same thing with admission standards, Ron. Most schools don't even require standardized tests now because they waived it during COVID. Mm-hmm. Well, hell, COVID's been over 7 years. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah, it's I don't see how you give kids 7 years of eligibility. I'm not sure how much sense that makes. I mean, they're 24, 25 years old.
That's what the pro leagues are for. If you think you want to play some more, see if you're good enough to go play pro.
Can Indiana or Texas Tech win the whole thing?
Oh, yes. Either one of them could. Now, when I say they're favored, I don't know enough about them. But Texas Tech, I know I quoted this the other day, and you saying, well, I'm tired of hearing it. I was on with the guy the other day that does those analytics. 26 years of football. The national champion was ranked in the top 3 in either offensive efficiency or defensive efficiency. Let me put this: offensive scoring efficiency or defensive scoring efficiency, or both, all 26 of those years. Now that's strong, because if you're looking in the SEC this year, there are hardly any teams that can say we're in one or two of those. They're not. Not even Georgia right now. Now, the last 4 weeks they've played that way, but their whole season they're not ranked in the top 3 in either one of those. But Vandy and Notre Dame were, and I know Vandy was an offense. Notre Dame, I can't remember. I think it was offense. And then you got Indiana and Texas Tech and Ohio State. That's the only ones that are in this playoff. There's 3 teams in this playoff right now that are ranked in the top 3 in the nation in one of those 2 categories or both. Indiana, I think, is both. Ohio State might be both. They may not be in offense. I'm not sure. I know Texas Tech is not on offense, but they're on defense. So, well, Texas Tech, yeah, they could win it.
That front 7 at Texas Tech, they're damn good now.
Absolutely. I mean, if they can generate a consistent offensive performance, with a little bit more ball control and a couple of explosives or whatever, they'd have a shot. Now, I think I saw Indiana affect that kid from Ohio State the other night. And if they can do that again, because I think Sayan's got limitations. I don't think he's a Mendoza. And I think sometimes he gets a little bit off schedule. He's not quite as good. And another coach I was on with the other day, he's a quarterback coach by career, and he said he's a lot like the kid from Texas A&M. They're really good players, really productive, because they're throwing some good weapons around them. But when people are good enough to get them out of their spot and get them off balance, or get them not throwing on time and all that, the fundamentals go out the window. And he said he noticed it on the Reed kid at Texas A&M the other day against Texas, and he said he also noticed it against Sayan against Indiana. Now, Ohio State's got a heck of a roster and depth chart.
They sure do.
They might can polish up a few things and do a better job of protecting him next time around, and a better job of running the football and dominating it a little bit, so they don't have to make big plays with him. They're good enough to do that. So I think there's some really good football teams left. But when you think about that 26 years, top 3 in the nation now, not top 10, not top 20, top 3. I would never have thought that was true. I would have thought there'd been some teams that have won it and just been balanced, on both sides, and a good kicking game and all that good stuff. And but that's a pretty strong statement.
Yeah, it is. Not, I'm just looking down through here at this bracket. I would expect Oregon will beat James Madison, but these second round games have a chance. I mean, you got, assuming Oregon wins, Oregon at Texas Tech, and then you've got the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma at Indiana, and then you got Tulane Ole Miss winner at Georgia, and then Miami Texas A&M winner at Ohio State. So that's pretty. That's some pretty good games. I mean,
now I can't remember how the question was asked the other day, but I think somebody said, who's got the best path? I think it's Georgia.
Yeah.
But the problem is, after they win one game, they run into Ohio State or a team that beat Ohio State. So that's a pretty tough thing to get to the final. But if you want to ask me who's got the best shot to predict to get out of the semifinal, and out of the quarterfinal and be in those semis, I think it's Georgia.
Well, I'm not sure Georgia was the best team in the country 8 weeks ago. I think they might be now. I mean, that's
very possible.
And they Kirby deserves a lot of credit. I mean, they play hard, and they believe they're going to win every game. They come out and they think it, and it doesn't matter how much adversity they encounter. They seem to find a way to push through it, and most of the time they win the game.
And that's very important in playoff play. I mean, every game is kind of like a elimination.
The interesting game to me, out with the 2 in the first round, Alabama and Oklahoma and Miami at A&M. Both those have a chance to be really, really good games. I haven't bought in on Miami. I may change my mind after the first round, but I just I don't know. I mean, they didn't. I also think the ACC's got to change their tiebreaker rule. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not sure. Duke won the conference, but I'm not sure they should have been there. I mean,
well,
if you
and
look
that goes back to Miami. You say, well, how in the heck can they not win a tiebreaker? Because they couldn't beat two teams in the ACC. Now they did. They went through a little injury spat right in there during that time. Had a big factor to do with how they, got beat. But I think who was it that beat them? Was it Pitt and Louisville, or I don't remember. SMU maybe.
they lost. They lost at SMU, and let's see here. I'm pulling the schedule.
Last year, Syracuse got them. This year, it was two good teams, but they weren't even ranked in top 25.
They lost to Louisville at home, and they lost
That's
at
what I
SMU.
thought. Louisville and SMU. Those are not bad teams. They were solid, but they didn't even end up in the top 25. As far as I don't think either one of them are in there.
And look at the schedule.
No,
I mean,
they're not.
They beat Notre Dame, which I guess that's a pretty good win.
It's a really good win, but they ain't the same team they were 5 months ago.
No.
4 months ago.
And then they beat South Florida. Beat South Florida pretty good. Beat a pretty below average Florida team. Beat Florida State. Lost to Louisville. Beat Stanford just like everybody else. Lost to SMU and beat Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. I mean,
yep.
That's what let them play Alabama or Auburn or LSU schedule or Georgia.
We'll see. And Pitt was a decent team. Right there at the end, though, they faded. They're not in the top 25. I mean, I don't think they had to play Georgia Tech, and I don't think they ended up getting having to play somebody else in the ACC. They didn't play Clemson. Now Clemson wasn't very good this year, but they're better than some of those teams that we just mentioned. They just had a terrible year. But I agree with you. I agree with you. Their track record, and they tried to compare their schedule to Notre Dame's, and I mean, it might be somewhat close, but I don't know. I don't know. My gut feeling when the rocks start flying in that game, I think Texas A&M is probably just going to be a little more physical than they are. But there's some things about Texas A&M. Mike's a really good defensive coach. Might be as good as anybody in the country. But statistically, they're not a good defensive football team. The one good thing they are is really good on third down and pass situations, because he's got some great schematic things that take advantage of his talent with his players. And they get a lot of sacks, which comes off of rushing yardage. But if you go back and watch them play against the run, they're not a good defense. So I don't know. It just depends. I think Miami's got a pretty dang good offensive line, and they got a quarterback that if they can protect him. I don't know what the running game is, how balanced it is and all that. But Texas A&M has got some hidden flaws because they're kind of dynamic on defense and they create a lot of problems, but it's usually on third and long. And when they get the sacks or the tackles for loss and you take it off that rushing yardage at the end of the game, somebody rushed for only 80 yards on them. But what they don't know is they lost 50 yards in sacks and other failures. So when they were actually having the ball run against them, if it was like NFL statistics, it's not good. So we'll see.
And quarterback has some limitations.
Yes, no question about it. He's got to have time. He's got to have protection. He's got to be able to stay kind of in a robotic. I guess that's an okay description. He's a good player, so I don't mean to say something demeaning, but it's got to be sort of fit into the schedule and the scheme, because when it gets off track, he gets out of whack. And I think he's a lot like the kid from Ohio State.
We talked about Notre Dame. I just, and maybe I'm wrong, but I've got a problem. I mean, listen to the schedule. So They lost at Miami. They lost to A&M at home. Purdue won 2 games. They were awful. They beat Purdue. They beat an awful Arkansas team. They beat Boise, NC State, USC, who was pretty average, Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. That's their schedule. Now,
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for them. I just, you don't want to be in a conference, and you want to do this, and you want to be independent. You want to do this, and you want to do that, and you want to play 3 service academies, and you want to play, I guess 4 or 5 ACC teams a year, and I don't have any sympathy for them. I really don't. All these years, they've been given the benefit of the doubt, and I'm glad they got left out, frankly.
My only problem with it is the formula and format of the playoff selection committee. To me, is an issue. It's a problem. And this year, they were the ones that were the problem child. But last year, it was somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then the year after that, it'll be somebody else. As long as this procedure or whatever you want to call it exists, you're gonna have something like a Notre Dame every year. But I agree with everything you said about them, and I don't understand why everybody has to accept that they're gonna stay independent. If they want to be independent, well, hell, a lot of people would want to be independent, maybe. And they say, well, they couldn't exist independent. You don't think Texas could?
That's right.
I guarantee you that some schools could go independent. But I agree with you. And I mean, until they're in a conference and dealing with it, this playoff thing, they keep trying to make it more like the NFL, and you can't do that. It's not even possible. You got 135 schools, I guess, 150, I don't know. And now the pros are dealing with what, 36?
32.
32. So you can have it balanced and bracketed, and you'll get a 7 and 17 mm-hmm. in the NFL playoffs, playing a team that won 14 games.
Yeah.
Well, they played the schedule they had. So it's not about, having teams that won so many games and passed the eye test and all this other crap. It's all that human bias that people get tired of. The second thing, I think they got to quit having those pre-shows every week, because they're setting things up and they're sticking their foot in their mouth and they don't know it. And 2 weeks later, they got to pull their foot out of their mouth. It's hard to explain how Notre Dame can be ranked 10 or 12 spots above Miami, and then about 7 places above Miami, and then maybe 4 spots above Miami for 4, 5, 6, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th week. And when they started having the Tuesday night shows, the distance between them was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, as it comes down, because BYU can't beat Texas Tech, and they have to drop, and then it keeps moving Miami up, and they ain't done nothing to move up.
That's right.
And all of a sudden now, they're being compared to each other, and we say, well, we only got this one metric, head-to-head. Mm-hmm. Head-to-head to the end of August. I mean, they ain't the 2 same football teams.
Not even close.
I mean, now, Alabama's same football team they were the first game.
No,
it's I mean, you got 50 examples you could pull up. A lot of teams didn't play well the first week, and some of them got beat by teams they could have beaten easily. I mean, a lot of times, all these dadgum portal and transfers and playing young kids early and all that, you don't know who your football team is until about 4 or 5 games.
Well, I have no sympathy for either. Neither one of them played a hard schedule. And one thing, we mentioned the NFL. you play everybody in your division twice, and then you play a division. You play another whole division, and that division rotates. And then some of those games are based on how you did and how the other teams did the season before. So you've got some games that you rotate in that should be big games, should be good games. And so the schedules are balanced. And in college football, I mean, you look at the schedule Miami played, you look at the schedule that Notre Dame played, and compare it to an average SEC schedule, it's not even close. And just from a grind standpoint, I don't think it's. And I'm not saying that look, playing that many games is always a grind, but playing playing Alabama and LSU and Tennessee and those kind of people every week is a lot different than lining up and playing NC State and Pitt.
It wears on you, and it affects you games that are not those 3 games.
That's right.
But and then the other thing, how does Ohio State lose an extremely close loss and they get dropped?
Mm-hmm.
How does BYU lose to the same team again, who is one of the 3 best teams in America, and they get dropped more than one spot? And then Alabama gets embarrassed by a big rival, and I guess on their home field, wasn't it?
They lost Oklahoma at home.
Yeah. It was, excuse me, it's a neutral field. My bad. So, and they don't get dropped. Not one spot. Okay. And I don't care what you say. I think there's some human bias in that. And where's the chairman from? He's an SEC AD.
I'm a little bit, I'm kind of in between. I don't. Should Alabama be punished because they played in the championship? I think you've got to have
It's a game. It's a game. I don't give a shit for the championship game. Should Notre Dame and Miami, should either one of them be punished for the first game of the season, for God's sake?
Fair enough.
I mean, it's the most recent game they played.
And I just think you've got to have play-in games. If you're having a conference championship game, then why should everybody else get an off week? Have a play-in game. I'm just looking at Ohio State's schedule here. Okay, so they played 4 ranked teams. They beat
4
Texas.
teams that are ranked.
4 teams that are ranked.
Who?
Let's see. They played Texas, and they were ranked at the time. They have Illinois, Michigan, and then Indiana in the championship game.
Illinois is not in the top 25. And
Not
who
now.
was that last one?
Michigan and Indiana.
Michigan.
And then Indiana in the championship game.
Michigan not in the top 25. Are they? Yep, there you go. I'm sorry. But
they were 15 when they played. So,
well, but when did they play? And they beat Texas the first game of the season.
First game of the season.
So here we go. Here we go with the first game of the year, just like the Miami Notre Dame deal. It's just a flawed system, Ronnie. I mean, as long as it exists the way it is, it's going to be a crap show. And maybe they can get the right 3 or 4 first guys, but they used to get that with the BCS formula. The only people were complaining about the BCS system with it ain't enough teams getting a shot, because we knew there were teams that didn't get in that were good enough to have a shot to win it all. Now here we're arguing over damn Tulane and James Madison being in there, and so Notre Dame or Miami or Alabama, who's going to get screwed? Well, it all depends on who's doing the screwing.
Well, and that's another problem. I mean, I don't see how, and I understand that's rule, and that's the way things, that's the way it's set up. But I mean, James Madison and Tulane in the playoff. I mean,
But you couldn't have gotten the group of 5 to vote for the playoff if you didn't say, okay, we'll get the best of it. They just get thrown a crumb. But I'll at least give those 2 credit. They're independent, just like Notre Dame. Not independent, but they're at large, just like Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
they did what they had to do. They were
told, give them credit.
This is how you get in. If you can't do this, you ain't getting in. And it's a hell of a lot harder to do what they did with their programs than it was most of these teams that got in. I mean, it was hard for them. It was an accomplishment. Notre Dame, I mean, they got all the weapons and all the advantages, and they lose 2 games. And whatever. I don't know.
And I'm not sure how much harder their schedule was, to be honest with you, than a Tulane or James Madison.
Sure. I don't have any sympathy for him. It's kind of like the Pavia thing on the Heisman. I would have voted for him, but still don't care. I'm sick of the way he and his family are acting. You got no class, and everybody's tired of watching it. And it's a shame, because I used to love to watch a kid play football.
I did.
But we don't need to watch you try to be Hollywood and all that. Just, hey, you didn't get the votes. And the guy that got him is a pretty good football player.
That's right.
Okay, so I mean, there's about 10 people that could have won it, and it's like 5 that could have easily had an argument for being the right guy. So just I'm tired of listening to it.
Well, and I mean, look, Pavi did a great job, but I mean, Mendoza. I mean, hell, you just went undefeated at Indiana.
Yep.
And won a Big Ten championship at Indiana. I mean, and we mentioned Michigan a while ago. Before we go, what in the hell's what do you do there?
I don't know, Ron. I listened yesterday morning on a podcast, listened to a guy, one of our group, and he had a lot of inside information. Some of this stuff has been going on for like 2 years.
Yep.
And it's like he said, just because everybody in the department doesn't know it, you can bet most people knew it. Okay. And then they talk about this and they talk about that. They talk about sign stealing, talk about serving suspended for games, talk about this. Where's the AD?
Exactly.
Okay. It's like he's trying to act like he's having a hard time cleaning it up. When it's all this stuff, even for the last 5 years, has been under your watch. And the place has had some ethics issues in many different forms for a while now. So, I mean, I hate it for the guy. I don't know him, never have met him, but, I don't wish any ill hate on the guy. I mean, what he did was absolutely ignorant and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But they got stuff going on in that school all the time. And the people that are really responsible for making sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen, obviously the individual himself, but there are other people that are not, they're not being held accountable. So I don't know. But
well, the athletic director, if you look at the Harbaugh situation and then you look at the Sharon Moore situation, at some point, somebody's got to be held accountable. I mean, Harbaugh leaves and gets a show cause, but he was going. He went to the NFL. So, right. And then you've got, like you say, the sign stealing and this, and you got that, and then you got the situation. I mean, and I understand they did an investigation, but as you said, we both worked in football offices. I mean, somebody knew. And
so, I mean, you got to be careful because, you got to be careful. And I guess there's procedures you got to follow. I mean, but it's Title IX stuff and all that. But at the same time, I mean, if it's gone on that long, and then what happened after it was uncovered, I mean, I put all that on the guy. And listen, there's been these kind of affairs in a lot of places for a lot of years. Okay, as long as we don't have, I better not say that. You'll be up all night trying to edit. But as long as we got men and women working in the same environment and not drag queens and women or something, then you're going to have these problems, okay? But, I mean, this is not the first time something of that nature's happened. But then when the thing went from the affair to threats and this kind of thing, and the guy that I was on with the other day, he explained sort of how that came about. It was when she went for help, she didn't get help real quickly from those in positions in the university that should have been on top of it. And then it progressed a little more to where she had to consult an attorney. And the guy advised her to do something. I can't remember what it was. Take that step. That's the only way you're going to get any relief. Because what she was getting threats and all this other stuff. And then, I think she was fired from the position she was just hired. And she went from $40,000 to $90,000 a year. And then within another 8 months, she's moved. You can work somewhere, but you got to go somewhere else in the school. And that's when she consulted her lawyer. And he said, this is not right. Said, that's no more your fault than everybody else in this chain of command. So that's when he advised her, you got to take it you got to open up and tell them what happened. And so that's when she told about what happened. Well, she'd had to get an abortion, and there was proof of it through receipts and everything else, and all that came out. That's when they called him in and they fired him, and that's when he went looking for her. Now, when it crossed that line, it's criminal, and it's pitiful. It's a shame. I mean, the guy had done a heck of a job and had a good career, and he's coached one of the biggest schools in America, and now it's all gone. And he may not have a life going forward of any quality.
Yeah, and you feel bad for anybody, but at the same point in time, we've all made mistakes, and you gotta own those too. And
yeah, absolutely. And think about his family. I mean, he's got a really wonderful family. I think it's 2 little girls or 3 kids. I don't know. And met the wife way back when they were at school. I mean, they've been married like 12, 14 years or something. Mm-hmm. So it's a sad thing, and I just hate it for everybody involved. But boy, that thing went off the tracks quickly. But I still say right now they're trying to surgically get some people out of the way and hope it all disappears. And to me, that place needs an enema.
Well, it needs to be cleaned out. I mean, it's to the point
that's
now.
That's an enema.
Yes.
That's what enema means.
And I'm not big on calling for guys to get fired, but if I'm the president, I'm starting with the AD and I'm cleaning the place out. And like, maybe it's all his fault, maybe it's not, maybe part of it's his fault, but the reality is, it's your job to oversee all this stuff.
Well, if you don't, in this litigation happy life we live in, you're going to have some more employees around the peripheral edges of this thing, and something's going to pop up here, something's going to pop up there. You're going to find out one of the other coaches was also involved with her. We're going to find out that something happened over here, and it was covered up by Joe. And I know he covered it up, and I'm turning him in. And the next thing you know, it's just going to never stop. And I think the word was the appropriate word. And you need an enema. Clean it out.
Well, the interesting thing about, and I know, but coaches are like 16-year-old girls. Somebody always knows. And somebody always
telegram, talks. Telephone, telecoach.
Yep. Somebody always knows. Somebody always talks. And there's somebody in the office that hears everything.
I'm telling you, I mean, sometimes I've told Coach that, we're worse than a bunch of damn women at a Tupperware party. We can't keep ourselves out of other people's business.
Well, it's been good to be with you again today.
All right. If I missed any of my bowl projections, I'll just let you edit that out.
Well, let's see. We can hit the bowls real quick. Let's see what the bowls are.
Oh, I'm talking about the playoffs. I'm like everybody else. I don't even know what the bowls are. I know my son got they got the bid to the Pinstripe Bowl. So
are you going?
It's New York City in December.
You're going, aren't
you? No.
Let's see. I'll hit some of these.
Last time I was in that town, gosh, when was it? I don't know, but it wasn't. I ain't lost nothing in New York. I probably would have if I'd have stayed there much longer, but I have no desire to go up there.
The last time I was there, we saw Bon Jovi at Giant Stadium. we stayed in Manhattan, and having never driven there, I figured out real quick that I didn't need to be driving there.
No, you don't need to. My little brother took a damn car back up there one time. I said, "Are you crazy?" He ended up. My other brother was teaching, or he was coaching at West Point at the time. He had the car in New York for about 2 weeks. He drove it up there and left it at my other brother's at West Point, and then sold it about 2 months later. I mean, if you own a car in New York, you're an idiot.
It's a different world.
I mean, you ain't got anywhere to park. It's going to be worthless in 2 years with all this crap they put on the street when the snow and ice and all that, rusting it out. I mean, I don't know why I'm talking about Manhattan now. I mean, if you live out in the Bronx or Queens or somewhere and you got to run around the community there a little bit. I mean, Manhattan, They ought to make cars illegal in Manhattan.
Hey, I tell you, it's a different world now. I mean, yeah, I'm just if we got Penn State and Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl. So let's start out with your son's bowl. Who you got there?
You got two pretty almost blue blood programs. I mean, I've seen some big time days, but both of them picked in the top 10 this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got to take a second level bowl. Just disappointing seasons. Clemson's actually having a problem now. They got a lot of projections on the draft, and some kids were not going to opt out the postseason. In the last 2 or 3 days, they've lost some of them, and they're declaring for the draft, and they're just scared. It's not worth the injury possibility. They've had some portals, much fewer than most programs, but I think they've got about 5 or 6 kids going in the portal, and I think one of them was a starter, and he only has 1 more year left, and I'm not sure why. It's just not. He may have another younger kid that's pushing him or something, but that total plus some guys that need cleanup surgeries, they want to go ahead and get it done so they'll be ready for spring ball or be ready for a little bit more rehab before the season or something. And so they want to go ahead and get those done, shoulder, a couple of those things. So I think overall now they're up to about 27 kids on the roster, that are not going to be there. Penn State, I can only imagine, has got similar issues going on with the coaching turnover. I don't even know who's coaching the bowl game. Is a new coach. What's his name coming in to coach it?
I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you.
I mean, they've got to figure all that out, and I would assume, I know like one of my old friends, Stan Drayton, I mean, he's not staying. He's already gone to South Carolina.
And Auburn turned down a bowl invite, finished 5-7, but, they're looking for people to play. And then how do you got one staff coming in, you got another staff going out, and it's it's mess.
I think you just got to have a player vote and go with what the players want. But if they don't want to be there, you don't need to be there. It's not going to be pretty. If they want to go, you can find coaches. You can find plenty of coaches. You can bring them in for 2 months and probably coached as good as anybody was this year.
What about South Carolina's Mike Shula? They moved on from Mike Shula.
What's that?
I said South Carolina moved on from Mike Shula after a year.
Well, and they've had that one and the offensive line coach. Those were inside the season terminations. I mean, there's 5 offensive coordinators in 4 years or 5 years. If you count the guy that finished the season, the interim, who's going to move back to the wideouts, I mean, hopefully it'll be a good move. Now, I have never been around Kendall. I've been coached against Art Browse, and he was obviously excellent. And but he was at Houston when I was at Mississippi State, and trying to defend them was tough. Great offensive mind. I'm sure Kendall probably has a lot of his knowledge, and he's had some really good years. But the best year he's ever had was at Florida Atlantic, and he was with Kiffin. And we know who runs that offense.
Yeah, I've always thought Kendall's smart. I thought he did a good job, and then he brought the running backs coach, Jimmy Smith, with him, who's an Atlanta guy who should be able to help with recruiting.
Kendall brought the running backs coach
from TCU.
Well, Stan Drayton is coming from Penn State to coach running backs.
He hired Jimmy Smith to coach something.
maybe they can shift it around or whatever. See, the other thing I didn't understand, Sean Elliott, in my opinion, he's as good as I've been around. He and J.B. Grimes. And Sean, went to Georgia State and finally just, he didn't like living over there. He moved back to South Carolina. And they already had a line coach, so he took the tight ends. And then when he had an opportunity to put Sean at offensive line this year, when he made the change after about the 3rd or 4th week. And so now he's bringing in an offensive line coach. I guess he told Kendall he could bring some people.
It should be, it's kind of, he probably needs to win next year, doesn't he?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I don't have any inside scoop or anything. I just, I think it's just the time we live. I mean, they were picked to be in their top 10 also, playoff team and all this. And not only, it brought back a kid that thought was going to be a Heisman winner. He ends up last in the conference in quarterback, some kind of quarterback ratings, and last in the country in sacks. That goes on a lot of different factors, but one of them's him. So he's elected to come back. And I think overall, probably smart for him to get more snaps under his belt before he tries the NFL. But they still have him ranked as the third best quarterback in the draft, which I would think would put him in the first round. Not guaranteed, but
pretty close either way.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a pretty good chance. But I think he's smart to play another year. And so they're working it out to get him signed and situated where he's going to stay right there. And I'm sure maybe the coordinator change had a lot to do with it. I don't know. He liked Shula, and he got along good with him. But boy, it just didn't look like it was fitting very well. I don't know if you can make that kid a good pocket guy. I don't know. I think it's a lot like Cam, but he doesn't have the presence Cam did, in my opinion. And Cam came out of an offense that didn't teach him how to throw in the pocket either.
Right.
But he had the natural talent and ability. But like all those great runners, they get up there and they think they can show them a couple of moves there and impress them all. And within 5 years, they've all gotten beat up and they slow down. And then they don't have the weapon that they had that got them out of trouble all the time. So we know this. I mean, the NFL, if you don't learn to throw the football in the pocket, and I mean, get it out on time and accurate, and you can't see and you can't make that quick decision, it's a limited career.
No question. There's no question. I just saw the ACC will roll out its new 9-game conference schedule in a modified form for the 2026 season. The conference announced Tuesday. The full nine game slate will begin in 2027. Because the ACC has an odd number of teams, one school will play 8 league games each season beginning in 2027. So you got everybody, but you got everybody playing 9 games except one school.
Well, I just printed Clemson's out a little while ago when you brought that up. It was timely, but they're one of the schools that are only playing 8 this year. So what happened? Anybody that did not have 2 Power 4 teams out of conference already contracted, they needed to go to 9. So they didn't give them any leeway on group of 5s. They told them, hey, cut the contract or else. But if you had a Power 4 team, like Clemson's got South Carolina and they've got LSU, they open up at LSU. So they've already got 2 group of 4s, 2 Power 4s, excuse me. And so they weren't going to make them change that. So obviously they'd probably rather play some ACC schools than play LSU in South Carolina. But that's what they're stuck in this 1-year deal for. Schools that had contracts with Power 4s, they didn't want to have to break the contracts. And then schools that had some group of 5s, they told them, you got to go ahead and make arrangements and go and get into the 9-game situation. Having an odd number of schools is the Big Ten got an odd number?
They're at 20, I believe. They're not odd though.
Well, it's a problem. It's a irritating thing. It doesn't make any damn sense. See, they use up Notre Dame, I guess, kind of as their scheduling thing for even it out, I guess.
Let's see. Clemson is also scheduled an annual series. I'm just looking here. 4 ACC schools, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia Tech, and Louisville, have an annual rivalry game against the SEC, while Louisville AD said his school is eager to play a strong schedule next season. Clemson is also scheduled an annual series against Notre Dame starting in 2027. And Auburn picked up Notre Dame. There have been a number of ADs that have tried to get that done. And, John Cohen announced that they had moved this next year's Baylor game to the Georgia Dome, and they moved it to Atlanta and there's some NIL money in that. A lot of Auburn people were not happy with it because if you look at Auburn's history and getting teams to come play in Auburn, whether it's ending up with Alabama in 1989, but those of us who are old enough to remember that aren't real big on giving up home games.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks later, he announced that he had managed to sign Notre Dame to a home and home. So people calmed down a little bit.
It's an endless thing, man. You want to play on your home campus. Even Georgia and Florida, I love that tradition of that game, but they need to play home and away.
That's an interesting game. I was down there 3 years, and it's a different kind of game. I mean, it really is. It's a fun game. I mean, the momentum can really swing quickly.
Yeah.
But it's a neat game. It really is, and
when you play in a stadium and the noise never shuts off, it's different.
It is.
I mean, it doesn't matter who's got the ball; everybody's dealing with noise, and it really is. But I still think it's an advantage to you to get them in your stadium, and then you got to go to theirs. I think they're hurting recruiting as much as anything. But I mean, if I was a fan, they're so used to that game in Jacksonville, they probably don't feel that way. But if I was a fan, I'd want that game in my stadium every other year.
I would too, but I also understand, and it's a true split. It's 50. It's not like the Iron Bowl where, it was really Alabama's home field, and they ended up with more tickets. And it's a little bit different. Florida and Georgia really is. It's a true split. But I always thought it was a fun game. It's the cocktail party and all that stuff. Fans really enjoyed it, and our kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. I'd rather have it on my campus.
I can't say that I blame you. It's especially in every other year, it's a big advantage. Well, it's good to be with you again.
Enjoyed it.
Same here.
Let's see. And Friday night is which is one of those 4 games? Alabama and Oklahoma.
Let's see here.
Isn't that right? The 19th.
I'm looking up here. Let's see. Alabama. It plays on the 19th at 7, and
the other 3 on Saturday.
Looks like the other 3 are on Saturday.
Yeah, noon.
Let's see. You got Texas.
Noon's a good game. 3:30 is Tulane, Ole Miss, and then the night game. The night game is Oregon and James Madison.
Yep, and then you've got Miami and A&M at 11, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It seemed like that'd be the night game, but that's me.
Well, it's noon. It's noon my time, but it's 11 because they're playing in Texas.
Yeah,
but it's coming on noon on Eastern time. What they do all these TV things on Eastern time.
Well, should be a fun weekend. Well, to those who are listening, click like and subscribe below. It helps us out and keeps us in your feed. And we'll see you next week.